Welcome back, folks. As you can see, we're outside and there's a little wind noise. You're probably going to hear the flag flapping above me, birds in the background. It's that time of year, so you're just going to have to tolerate the wind noise. Thought I'd do a little wrap up here on the 1980 Yamaha XT250 that you see in the shot right now. We've talked about this a couple times before. It's done and it's about ready to go back to its owner. I think he's going to pick it up next few days or a week. Just to reiterate, he asked me to address a couple things. One, he couldn't get it to start on even starting fluid or ether. The horn didn't work and the brake lights didn't work. So all those items have been addressed. And in fact, I talked about the horn not getting a good ground, and the brake light issue I thought was a switch in the handlebar up here where the control activates it. It wasn't the switch. The switch is okay. It was where the handlebar lever, the brake lever, engages the switch and allows the switch to be activated. Those are aftermarket bars and controls, and they didn't quite fit right, so I had to fiddle around with those a little bit to get them to reliably, the lever that is, to activate the switch. So that's done. The carburetor, I ended up just because I thought it'd be a good idea to pull it and rebuild it, and I didn't really rebuild it, I cleaned it. Pulled the carburetor down, completely cleaned it in my ultrasonic cleaner. Bought a carb kit basically for the gaskets and O-rings. I typically don't use the brass jets out of carb kits. I don't care for the quality of them, and quite often they're not the right size, even though they might be labeled for this bike. I didn't even check them. I just used the originals and cleaned them good. They're brass. They were fine. They just needed to be cleaned. So all the jets that were original went back in it, as well as the float. I did replace the float needle valve, and again, all the gaskets and O-rings were replaced in the carburetor, and it was put back together, and I assembled it to factory specs. That is the pilot jet, the low-speed jet, which this one still has an adjustment you can make, and the float level. It doesn't leak, as you can see. The carburetor's fuel tight. I did pull the filter on this. Fuel filter is built into the petcock, and it fits up into the fuel tank. Replaced the fuel line, which was leaking. I think I shared that before, with a new piece of fuel line that's ethanol resistant, and I put a new vent tube on the overflow. Actually, it's an overflow, it's not a vent tube, an overflow for the float bowl. Put it all back together. It still is a little reluctant to start cold. I did a little research on these bikes, and apparently, I'm no expert on these, but apparently, from what I can gather from reading on online forums, they're known to be a little bit cantankerous on cold starting. Takes a number of kicks to get them going. It's probably due to the lean condition they have the carburetor set to at the factory. I did set it back to the same lean condition, at least on the pilot side. That's about all I can do. It will start if it's stone cold and been sitting for a day or two. It'll take probably 8, maybe 10 kicks to get it to start. Once it's running, it'll start right up that same day with no problem. One or two kicks, maybe 3, and she's running, and that runs fine. It's got a lot of power, got a lot of torque. I did do a compression check, and it tested at 140 psi, which is plenty good. If I remember right, the spec is it's 130 and 150, I think, something like that. So it's fine. The compression is fine. As long as you're above 100 psi, you're probably going to be okay, and this is well above that. So we're good on compression. I was a little concerned about it, but it seems to be okay. So this is going on its way back to the owner. He's going to flip it. He wants to move it on. He's bought 2 new bikes, new Yamahas, and brand new bikes for he and his wife. So this is just a starter bike. He's owned it less than a year, and he's going to sell it on. So that's going to be it for this video today, folks. Any issues, questions, thoughts, drop me a note. Otherwise, as usual, thanks for watching.